Yes, my name is Daniels from ONG&ONG Group. So today I'm going to share about the ONG&ONG digital transformation journey. I'm calling it digital workflow. Right, so that's my title, Embracing Digital Workflow, right? Okay, so just quick introductions about the firm. ONG&ONG Group, we're present in 7 countries, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Mongolia, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. We have design entities, which are ONG&ONG, SCA Design, Immortals, and OXT. And we also have engineering, CNS, and M&E under the entity called Rankin and Hill. And we also have project management, which is project innovations and project actions. Right. So we have about 570 staff strengths across the region. We're offering pretty much multidisciplinary design consultancy. So we are architects, interior designers, landscape architects, branding consultant, structure consultant, structure engineers, M&E engineers, and project managers. I hope most of you are familiar with the building information modeling before. So in Singapore context, for example, we started back in 2010 when we started this with BIM, right? So Singapore government basically pushing the consultants in particular to actually embrace BIM in their design and also in their for authority submissions and building approvals and so on. So BIM essentially is basically we model the thing first virtually, and we produce the drawings that comes from the model. So it's not the other way around where actually you create plan, floor sections, elevations, and then get the models after that. But you actually started with the model first, and then drawings comes later. All right, so the use case of BIM is pretty much across the board from start to finish of the project, starting from design development, conceptual design, including authority submission for Singapore context, right? 3D coordinations and so on, and all the way until FM and some automations and so on, right? This is what we have for the BIM. Now, Singapore also embraced what we call is a virtual design and constructions, which is VDC. So that was back in 2015, which pretty much basically another so-called enhanced process of after the BIM. So we have BIM, we have ICE, which is the integrated concurrent engineering, where everybody is actually get together to do some coordination using the model, using the BIM model, right? And then some processes of productions and management, things such as DFMA, for example, or design for manufacturing and assembly. So all of these actually part and parcels to create a virtual mock-up of the actual thing before it's actually built. So what we call is like we build it twice. So conceptually we build it in the computer first, then after that you build it on site, right? Just to give you an idea, is like this is one of our projects using the VDC process that we built the whole entire thing virtually from design all the way to the construction process as well. Meaning to say, like for example, like site logistics, like how these things actually being constructed and so on, from the building structure, architecture, M&E, as well as the facade as well. So step one is, of course, is build the thing virtually using BIM technology. And then second of all is actually to build the thing on site, right? So make sure everything is actually no issues, no clashes, no problems. Then you actually construct it on site, right? So that's the holistic approach of VDC, which is pretty much having the approach of digital twin, where you actually have the physical and the virtual together, right? Now, IDD, this is one of the latest approach of digitalizations from the BCA Singapore. The earlier approach was started back in 2017. So IDD definition is integrated digital delivery. There are 4 pillars in there. First one, which digital design. Second is digital fabrication, digital constructions, and also digital asset delivery and management, which is pretty much the FM or what we call is facility management, right? So For the purpose of today's discussion, I mean, IDD is quite a lot of things to discuss if you go through everything. So for the sake of today's discussion, especially the one that relate to the facade models and processes and workflows, to create the facade design. It's pretty much the digital design, which is on the left-hand side here. It's about how to we optimize the design for the facade, how to actually to do some perhaps it's simulations and analysis on the building itself, right? And how to actually to integrate the whole process together with BIM and VDC, right? I'm going to touch base also about the cloud because especially the nowadays with the needs of collaboration, how we actually move from traditional method to the digital method. Cloud-based is very essential, especially with the implementations of common data environment. Okay, so I'm going to share you a bit of that as well as part of the base infrastructure to set up the whole entire workflow. In ONG&ONG context, digital transformation pillar, we come up with strategy, what we call as a digital beyond. So it's basically a three prongs approach. First is the workplace, digital workplace. Second is digital workforce, sorry. And then last would be the digital workflow, right? So we kind of set up our digital workplace as a base to enable the other two, right? And also, of course, our staff and manpower need to be trained and need to be so-called, move their kind of, I guess, or change their mindset, right, to embrace the holistics of digital transformations. And of course, after that, the workflow itself actually need to be, basically embracing the whole tree approach again, and then and deliver it in a digital way rather than doing the manual way. Right. Okay, so I'm going to start with the digital workplace, which are the difference between standalone and collaborative, right? So we're moving away from standalone to collaboratives, in the sense that, okay, I think when we started BIM in 2010, 2011 and 12 back then, it's kind of a standalone in a way, like, okay, we're doing our own architecture models, we, consultant doing their own structure models as well, our M&E design partners also doing it on their own. But we got to move into something more collaborative now with the whole effort of IDDs and VDCs and so on, right? So collaborative is the next way, is the way to go. So we need some better infrastructure rather than a standalone setup. So virtual workplace is actually one of the key thing here. So we embrace virtual workplace. Is basically a collaborative working environment. Of course, we have the touch base across the three things again about the hardware, the peoples, and the online processes, right? So basically, so virtual workplace is a workplace that is not located in any of physical space. So we're utilizing what we call is a cloud base, right? So instead of, okay, this is an example of work from office, kind of with the physical setup and an on-premises kind of environment. And then moving to work from anywhere, where the infrastructure is actually virtual and then using the cloud base. And this is what we embrace as in our practice. Okay, the whole workflow transformation from standalone to become collaborative. Some of the examples of the implementations actually including this cloud-based design or BIM meeting reviews, using the facilities such as AR, VR, and MR, right? We have our own in-house training center to ensure our workforce is actually digital ready, and utilizing things like virtual desktop, for the cloud-based BIM workstation. So is a with the BIM software, you need a powerful hardware, right? So the way that we actually implementing is actually we utilizing cloud-based also to do that. So everyone actually have this access pretty much from anywhere. We have some platform sharing called Beyond X to share our kind of digital journeys and digital sharing sessions, which happen every year. of course, the training centers again, and then we set up the whole thing with the focus on mobility, so to make sure that our staff can work anytime and anywhere. Okay. Now, going back to the IDD is basically is about digital delivery. Digital delivery, when you talk about digital here, is about the data, right? So why digital workplace is important for IDD is because how we need to make sure that the data is actually entered correctly and then collaboratively correctly being implemented in the system, right? And then so therefore the project can be delivered without any issues and any dramas, pretty much, right? Right, so we embrace what we call as a CDE, Common Data Environment Platform, right, to support the IDD framework. Again, is that is to ensure that everyone's actually working from the same data source. Okay, it's not like, okay, one consultant having their own thing and then their own data set, their own floor plans. No, we don't do that. Basically, everyone needs to work in the same digital environment, in the same cloud-based environment, which is the common data environment that we are looking to. Okay, right. So in ONG&ONG context, this is in the setup that we currently using now. So we move away from the server environment because we have 7 offices around the regions. So we move everything to the cloud now. So this is what we have now. It's a common data environment across the offices. And also we sharing this with our consultant partners and main con as well as subcon as well. So this is an example of projects that we did using the common data environment and successfully won an award as well. This is one of the healthcare projects, and another one is private residential projects, which is one of the first IDD, one of the first 12 IDD projects in Singapore. Right, so that's one of the example. Now, speaking on the workflow, of course, the reasons CD is actually important is because it's the platform itself, right? So in terms of creating the BIM model and then conducting VDCs and then integrating it into IDD workflow, that become one of the enablers, right? So therefore, an example like for this, we can enable a multidisciplinary BIM model. So every disciplines, every consultant actually work in the same file, same model. Essentially, it's actually one single file, right? So with the real-time authoring as well, we need this kind of infrastructure to be enabled first. Right, digital design with computational BIM, this is something that I'm going to talk more after this, which is related to the facade treatments of the building and how actually to generate some facade options from this tool. Right. This is one of our add-on tools that we develop in-house for BIMomatic, another way to automate the process to ensure that in IDD process of automation is actually being implemented much better or more efficiently. The FMA, of course, is the next levels of digital fabrications in IDD. So it's quite one of the key things that we actually deploying in office. As well as for the FM handover. So when the project's finished, for example, then we scan the buildings using LiDAR scanner. Then after that, hand over the model together with all the sets of the FM data. Sorry, digital design use cases for IDD. I'm going to touch base on this. So pretty much about the parametric modeling, computational BIM, and generative design, right? So just imagine we have this kind of a square cube, right? Parametric modelings and computational BIM and generative design is one of the methods that we normally use to do the facade treatment for the building, right? Which is part of the IDD use case of this, the one is listed in the BCA's IDD. So, okay, just imagine, is a box like this, right? What it does is basically, if you can see here, is we manipulate the box, right, with different heights, with different lengths, with different perhaps is configurations of the width and the height and so on, right, and then arrange them accordingly with certain patterns, right? So this is how we actually manipulate the models and do some options for the facade, for the building skin, for example. right? And then once we manipulate it with a script like this, then the computers also can offer us a series of options. So these are the examples of options that being offered. So there are so many pages of options that actually being displayed by the computer. And then as a designers or architects, actually, this tools is quite helpful. Right. So essentially, these are the idea how the parametric modelings and generative designs and computational BIMs actually work. Now, I'm going to show you some of the case studies from the project itself. So this is one of the example of projects of master planning with the 2 towers. I think it's residential, right? So it's a typical building massing thing. So we have a typical towers like this, right? With the set up with the ventilation gap, and also some balconies and terraces and so on, right? And then this is one of the samples of the floor plans, right? So the floor plan layout 1 and layout 2, there's 2 different things, and with the balconies, fenestrations and stuff. Now, after that, we're playing around with the vertical clusters, right? So how these vertical clusters actually works, actually, we can actually set the different permutations of the massing itself using the script, right? So this is an examples of the how it works. So we're using Dynamos on this. Models is done in BIM using Revit software. So we have these kind of sliders to change the modules of the facade, right? And then you know, a few sliders there to randomize the pattern. So it creates a different treatments of the facade itself, right? But that's how it works in terms of, you know, getting the different kind of feels of the elevations of the buildings using the script. Another example is this one is using generative design, which actually the computers giving you different sets of design options, right? And then you can actually choose which one that is actually suitable for your case. And there's another set of scripts using Dynamo to set the site dimensions, plot ratios, and so on, and then some facade divisions and rotations angle and stuff. This is an example, for example, with the paneling options that, you know, with twist the massing, you know, use a different size of paneling system, and then this one is a square one, and then the other one is like a diamond shape, right? And this is some of the output of the outcome of the design with the model twistings and foldings and flowers and staggering, right? So with 2 different sets of scripts. Another option is also this one. This is another exercise of permutations of materials, so different sets of building materials and color, right? And also the panel between solid panels and void panel, and another one with the checker options as well. Okay, so again, we're using script to do this. So basically, it's input to get the materials, to get the sizings and so on, and then we process it, and after that, create the output into the model. This is another. This one is for analysis. So basically, the facade treatment, how actually the panels actually correspond to the sun, for example, the sun angles and so on, right? So to give you a bit more details on the idea is, okay, how these vertical panelings actually respond to the sun orientations. Another example is dynamic architecture panels. So how these things actually create more kind of a dynamic shapes, different sets of opening, right? So it starts with the you know, a simple rectangulars with the openings in the middle, right? And then after that is we join them together in the using parametric design to actually to array them together, right? And then with the sliders, you can actually adjust the openings and the closings of the actual panel. So maybe next. Okay, so now with this, we can also create a different sets of I guess more dynamic kind of I guess gradients kind of opening rather than just a flat one. So all of these actually done by the scriptings and you know, actually the visual programming like Dynamo, for example, really helpful for us to actually to generate all of this, right? And then we can actually adjust the sign diagrams design graph here to actually to correspond with the openings as well. Okay, so and yes, and this is the final outcomes of the facade itself to have that kind of a dynamic openings and closing. I've shown you all those examples. So basically, in our context, we actually author all of these in using a cloud-based environment. So authoring from design, modeling, analysis, and simulation all done in the cloud, as well as doing the coordinations as well with other consultants, right? So we use 100% cloud-based in there. So what is the difference now? This is the traditional way of non-CDE workflow, right? So we model the facade. Normally we have to export because you may use different software, right? You may use different applications to export to another format, and then you get uploaded somewhere because you need to send it to another consultant. Say for example, facade consultant want to send it to architects consultant, right? You need to send it up, upload it, and then the model perhaps you use like a third-party cloud solution or third-party FTP server. You have to actually temporarily store it somewhere, right? And then the other party, the architects actually download them. And then after I have to import the models and then do coordinations and integrate. Now imagine if this one needs to be repeated over and over because design keep changing, like for example, every 2 days or every week, for example, right? So the process is quite tedious. So in our context, we set up what we call as a CDE workflow. So everybody's actually work in a CDE environment. So we model, export, coordinate, and integrate in the cloud-based CDE. Everything's in one place. So facade is actually one of them, okay? So in the sense of this is facade consultant is just doing it here as well. Architects doing it here, and then as well as M&E and structure. So all the models actually sits in the same common data environment, which is in the cloud. What's the difference? The difference is between sending and upload. We have with non-CDE workflow is we have disconnection. We hand over the model rather than doing it by sharing it. So we're working in silo. I think that's the most kind of challenging thing. With cloud-based, actually, we maintain everything in single source. We invite them to collaborate, right? So we don't hand over the model. We actually get the team to actually join the cloud space, join the virtual space, right? And then, of course, all stakeholders, all the project team normally have to start from the start. So everybody is actually get the correct setup from the beginning, all right? So what we do is basically we just share the files and then share it to that person, and then they can actually just jump in and do it, the models in there. Right. So digital workflow, basically we're going to see more of this happening. I think in the next few years or even now, there are many companies also already embracing this. Virtual setups, I think, is the way to go. I mean, we always use this Zoom or use MS Teams, for example, to do some conferencing and so on, right? So integrated model is the key. We no longer, I think individual models become an issue now. If you only have your own model, it's not integrated in one space, actually can cause issues in coordinations, right? So there are more people actually embracing platform-based now for the CDE, so to set up their infrastructures. And also use the automation tools. So automation can be like, using, simple script with Dynamo, like, for feature programming, or maybe some other tools that you may have, right? So integrated model, of course, your BIM is now become more, it become like multidisciplinary BIM rather than a single standalone BIM. It helps on the VDC if you have a platform, of course, and of course with the automation tool like visual programmings and all these things help on your automations for the IDD delivery. Right, so for ONG&ONG, just a quick one to recap, we embrace workplace, workforce, and workflow as one holistic digital-centric initiatives, and basically to prepare us to become a future-ready practice, right? So we embrace the whole cloud and then working anywhere with the mobilities and so on. Our latest award that we received from BCAs for IDD, so we got platinum 2 months ago, and we also so-called accredited for the ISO 19650. This one is international BIM standard, which is the one of the we are one of the pioneers in Asia to get these certifications, and one of the latest digital maturity roadmap of from the IMDA scoring. and then some media coverage in Business Times, as well as the Autodesk customer success stories for the again, it's for the cloud implementations and ISO 19650. Okay, so that will be all. Okay, so thank you so much.